Well, you need like a catchy first line, like "Hello, Chess NYC community and
No,
Chess
it's not
World."
just NYC. It's Hello World.
Well, then fine, but you have to have some sort of intro. Hello, world.
And the story continues.
Welcome to Chess is Dead. So, what are we going to discuss today?
Today we're going to talk about where it all started. Today we're going to have a conversation about what happened on 34th Street and Broadway. You may not remember it as well as I do, but when I left the AAU, I felt like I handed in my gym shorts and went right over to chess. Took a little time. Your grandmother passed away that year, and I spent some time thinking about what I wanted to do and when I wanted to do it. And this kid that we were talking about had this another interesting opportunity. He had a access to an exhibit, so to speak, on 34th Street and Broadway. New York City had decided to close it to traffic, no through traffic at that time. And we actually had a license agreement, which is kind of like a lease with the Bryant Park Association, whatever that was called, to play chess in the middle of the street and to host chess in the middle of the street. So he brought this to me. That was our first venture. And I decided that we would get an 8-foot chessboard and put that in the middle of the street, life-size 8-foot chessboard. And that he had the idea, which was a good idea, to do blitz on this chessboard. Blitz is a 5-minute on each side game. So we set up this great big exhibition. We had red tablecloths on all the tables that had chessboards. We had a great big chessboard in the middle, and you played blitz chess. You played 5 minutes blitz, and you paid $5 a game, if I recall correctly, to play.
I was so we would also call it sometimes beat the champ too, where you'd have like a really high level chess player.
Well, that was where you could invite one person to play instead of two. And that worked. It was an interesting approach. We put some merchandise on a table. We sold some chess stuff. We put our chess tables out there with boards where you could play regular chess. Then we had the big board blitz, we called it, in the middle of the street. And it was a lot of fun. We did start with the beat the champ, and this kid was the beat the champ because nobody had ever played blitz on a big board. He was not a great chess player. He was a good chess player. I don't know how good he is now because we don't speak anymore. And that's a good thing. But he was not a great chess player. He was a good chess player. And he would win most of his games playing beat the champ. He really was good.
I even did it a few times.
Yeah. And then we started to bring people in to do it, to play beat the champ. And it became like a lunchtime phenomenon on 34th Street, directly in front of Macy's. Right in front of Macy's, we had this 8-foot board. We're running around playing chess. We're selling chess sets, and Macy's hated us. Macy's decided, couldn't believe what was going on in front of their store. So Bryant Park came to us and said we have a problem with Macy's. And to make the story meet, and they kind of moved us towards 34th Street, away from the front door, the famous Thanksgiving Day parade door.
Yeah. It's now, it used to be like a Modell's Daffy's. It's now H&M.
No. Before that, they moved us right in front of where Sunglass Hut was, or the world's smallest store. We were there for whatever. I know it's there now, but we set up there, and everybody played blitz. It was funny, when we set up the big board, right? Just to really illustrate how little I knew about chess. When we set up the very first big board, I set it up wrong.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't set it up wrong by the pieces because I had seen chessboards before. But what I set up wrong was the board orientation.
Yeah. You set it up backwards.
The board orientation. The bottom right-hand corner was incorrect. So some guy who was working with us at the time, he didn't stay very long, explained to me the board was wrong. And I, wise guy that I am, I was kind of annoyed, like, does it really make a difference? The pieces are facing each other. They can play chess. So I asked the kid that we were working with, and he said, yeah, it did make a difference. So we fixed the board. I knew nothing. I knew nothing at all about the game yet. So we put the board, we moved over. We're playing blitz. Lunchtime is slamming. We're doing a little bit of retail sales. And we got yelled at by Macy's again. Macy's did not want us in front of their store. No way, no how. You were not playing chess and hustling folks for $5 a play in front of Macy's. So that's when they moved us over to what you're talking about, over to Daffy's. So we moved over in front of what was, at the time, it was Daffy's or Asa College or something.
There was a bunch of things. We even had an Auntie Anne's, if you remember, right in front that I used to go to all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And that little store became Burger King later.
Yeah.
But we ended up going over there, and we were there for a little while. And it gets a couple funny things happen while we were there. First of all, being there was pretty cool because we met people in the chess community. And at that time, I was getting ready to go into the education and events and sporting part of the game, but I didn't know anybody. So we met some of the beginnings of our meeting with people in the community. And I would say on 34th Street, we met more nicer people on 34th. I was very optimistic on 34th. We met nice folks that came and visited us and played with us. I remember I remember that there was this fat guy watching the Blitz. He would come every day for lunch, and he would stand there, and he would watch the kids and the guys running around the board of Blitz. You have to move this big piece, run over, hit the clock, run around this 8-foot board. It was cardio by any definition. And this guy was looking at it. And this guy was evidently a really good chess player, And he was teaching chess in New York City. But he was not a guy who was built well for this big board blitz. But he kept coming and he kept watching, eating his sandwich and watching the big board blitz until one day he finally broke down and played big board blitz. And he got on there and he did a great job and he was able to finish it and he became somewhat of a regular. He was a master or an international master and he was a really, really, really nice guy. But it was funny to watch him evolve into a participant from, I ain't doing that, to getting involved. It was really a funny thing to observe.
I have two, of the whole time that we were there are two stories that always stick out to me. Number one, do you remember we used to sell those like the wooden, they were nice sets.
Magnetic.
Yes. And I worked for weeks and weeks and I finally got one and I was thrilled. And then we ended up having to play it when you were in the hospital, when you broke your ankle. I just so happened to have that wooden demo board with me.
I don't really remember that.
When we, the pothole on 95th Street, the third.
I remember the breaking.
Yeah. But when we got there, we didn't have anything to do. So I just so happened to have that demo set because we were coming home from working on 34th. Mm-hmm. And we had that demo set and we would play. I think we played in the waiting room for like 2 hours.
Well, I was suffering, but okay.
And the other big memory I have that I thought was great was when we ran a Blitz tournament. We did a lot of those down there. Do you remember there was the guy who he went to Burger King or Cinnabon in the middle?
You're right, Burger King.
Well, it was a Burger King and Cinnabon in there. And the guy went when we were starting the next round and his clock started and he comes running out with this half a burger in his mouth.
He didn't come running.
And he walks over and he crushes this person with like a minute left.
Yeah, he went downstairs. He went to get a Whopper.
Yes.
And the games all started and he wasn't there. And the rule is if you're not ready and your opponent is and the round starts, you start the clock. So he came, where are you? Where is he? Everyone's searching for him all over the place. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He was a good chess player, by the way.
Yeah, strong Blitz player too.
So he, after about, 3.5 minutes, he shows up, walks up out of the steps out of Burger King with a Whopper in his hand. He's eating. He's got a Whopper in one hand, fries in the other. Comes over and sits down and summarily beats the heck out of his opponent in 30 seconds.
And he won the tournament too.
And he won the tournament. Yeah. That was a very funny experience.
I enjoyed those. Those were fun tournaments. Just because they're so fast. You don't have to sit for hours upon hours.
It was a great introduction to the game. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about the game there. We brought in new key players to work for us and play other people on regular boards and big board blitz. And it was my introduction to the game. It was like, it was pretty cool. The funniest part about it, though, was as it turns out, it was completely illegal. And we nearly went to jail. We're there now for months, right? We're playing chess. First, we get kicked out of Macy's and they move us to the corner. Then Macy's says, no, you're still too close. And they move us over to across the street on 34th Street. And then the cops show up, and we're like, well, we have a license agreement with Brian Park, who's the one that was managing the outdoor area with the city. And we had a legal license. I knew to get a license agreement because I had been in retail in the past and I had retail stores and different type of leases. And I knew we couldn't just be there with nothing. So we got the license agreement, which turns out to be entirely illegal. So I forget who first approached us, But they came up to us. I am beginning to remember breaking my ankle while we were there, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
They came up to us and they said, "You can't." The cops said, "You can't be here." I said, "Sure, we can be here. You know, we have a license agreement with Bryant Park, and they said you're not allowed to be here at all." And I said, "Well, we have a license agreement. I don't know what to do otherwise." So it kind of subsided. They kind of left. And then they started to come back. You know, it was like we were 3-card Monte players. They came back like harassing us that we're playing chess on the street illegally. And we weren't. We were there with all good intentions and all good legal, documents. However, as it turns out, Bryant Park didn't have the right to license us to space. So they licensed us to space. We're there breaking the law for 3 or 4 months while playing chess in the middle of 34th Street and Broadway. And finally, the cops kept coming and we kept explaining the license agreement, and they would walk away and be pretty okay with what we explained to them, because we're not wise guys. We were respectful, and we
thought we were being honest.
We always had reasonable answers, so they left. But the captain finally freaked out, and he came over, literally was ready to arrest us if we didn't leave at that exact moment, that he was getting ready to arrest us. And I remember your younger brother was there, and he came up to me and he tugged on my shirt, and he said, "I don't want to go to jail," and he cried. And I said, "Gee, we're not going to jail. I promise you, we're not going to go to jail." So the end of it was, we had to shut it down. The good thing was that was the beginning of momentum for Chess NYC, because we met chess people, we met chess players. There was a story about us, what we had done on 34th Street. People knew there was some notoriety to it. Mm-hmm. I learned about Village Chess Shop while I was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so
he came. I think the owner came by one time while we were there.
We bought inventory from him and sold it on 34.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I learned that it became available for sale, and Chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5 came from that 34th Street. But eventually, rather than go to jail, we elected to shut down that day with the captain there.
Probably a good choice.
And we shut down the whole thing. It was fun. It was done. If you remember, they even gave us a storage spot on 32nd Street underneath that little park.
Yeah, I do remember that. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why they gave that to us.
They licensed us the middle of the street in Manhattan.
Yeah.
They licensed us a storage space on Madison Square Park, I think. No, I don't know what it was.
It was like an alcove. It was like almost like an MTA storage room.
Yeah, but we had that for storage for all of our stuff.
Yeah.
So the whole thing shut down without a whole lot of pomp. We just were done. We shut it down. And 34th Street in the middle of the street was never to be again.
No.
And then the next step was at Chess NYC. We moved on to discuss chess. We actually met. Chess NYC's first office was a Starbucks.
Yep.
On 91st.
Right by the Empire State Building. Oh, I thought it was.
No, that's where we started before on 34th.
Yeah.
91st and First Avenue was a Starbucks that ended up being the very first Starbucks, the very first office of Chess NYC. Our rep was 0. We drank too much tea. He drank coffee. I drank tea. And we made the plans to get into the schools and such. But what was really cool about the Starbucks was it was the last Starbucks in Manhattan before you got to Yankee Stadium when you went down First Avenue. And Derek Jeter used to come in and get his cup of coffee on his way to the Yankee game.
I have an autographed newspaper from him still.
What's even funny about the autographed newspaper, I got the autograph.
It's a photo of A-Rod.
It was A-Rod, and I had him autograph A-Rod's photograph from Derek Jeter to Alan Proper, or Alan and Gene, I think if I remember correctly. But that we went from 34th Street to First Avenue and 91st Street. And then that was where we laid out the plans for Chess NYC. That was before we had any other thing. So there were some really good, happy times figuring out that we wanted to be in the business. We went from AAU to 34th Street, almost to jail, over to 91st Street. We were welcomed on 91st and First. Starbucks was happy to have us.
Well, you were a paying customer.
We were there we do everybody. We do. We spent more time in that Starbucks than anybody should spend at any Starbucks. And we were there until we bought the Village Chess Shop. When we bought the Village Chess Shop, we moved our operation into the Village Chess Shop, and that was the beginning of Real Chess NYC.
It was an office in the back, and then the shop in the front.
Yeah. Just that became the central office of Chess NYC, and then we just grew school by school and program by program and event by event, and became what we became. But I think the 34th Street thing was a blast, and I think it's where it all started. It's really where it all started.
I still have that set.
The wooden set,
yeah.
Okay.
I haven't played in a long time. It's hard to see What I realized growing up later is like the pieces, if they're not big enough, it's really hard to play a board seriously because you can't really see things properly. But still a good thing to have for travel.
Yep. They sold very well, those magnetic boards. Anyhow, that's all I got for today. I think if you anything else you want, anything I didn't share that you think is share worthy.
Last question. I don't know the answer to this one actually. Does anybody ever talk about that still? Like, does anybody ever approach you and talk about like what 34th Street? Like, do they remember it?
Been a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so long ago.
It's like 12 years ago.
Yeah, it's a really long time. For years, people did come and talk about it, but just
a lot has happened over the years. You know, so that the who's around are not the same people. So no, there's not a lot of conversation about it anymore. It happened. It's on the books, and it was a lot of fun. It was awful hot out there Sunday.
Yes, it was.
But it was a lot of fun, and that was the beginning of CHESS NYC.
Although now everybody who ever listens to this now knows that. So anytime that they go by Macy's on 34th Street, they can know that we were standing there for 3 to 4 months selling sets and playing on big boards.
Well, now it's just metal chairs and tables. It's just nothing from nothing. But we big red tablecloth.
Do you remember when the tablecloths would get wet and how heavy they would get after a while when they would rain? Oh my God. That's why we switched to those plastic ones after.
No, we only bought vinyl ones.
No. Eventually, we started using plastic ones at Play and Go. Well, before it was Play and Go, when it was just tournaments, we would use plastic ones because the red ones would get dirty and you either had to wash them or you just continue to use them dirty. The plastic ones you could just dispose of and use a new one.
We were using a vinyl. We were buying it by the yard and cutting it, but they look good because you couldn't miss the red tablecloths from a mile away.
Yes.
That's why we used them.
They were very bright.
Chess is a very quiet, recessive kind of game that doesn't call attention to themselves. It's a quiet, classical, historical game. We put big, bright red circus.
We actually have a few of those left. I know where they are.
They don't die. They don't biodegrade or anything. So I'm sure they're still around.
But I wish they did. But yes, we still have.
Yep. But that was a good. That was a good summer, and that was the beginning of CHESS NYC.
Thank you so much for making it to this point. Feel free to follow us on all our socials. They'll be down in the description below. You know the drill. Some deliberately cheap, cheesy, deep line.
I'm actually choked up today because I have something to say.
Oh my goodness. First time. Here we go.
If you want to become a large service provider in New York City, start with a big board in the middle of 34th Street and Broadway, right in front of Macy's face.
Don't do that. You're going to get arrested.
If that's your aspiration is to become substantial in chess, that's where it begins.
You'll have a nice company and a nice police record as well. If you're still around, make sure to check us out and continue to watch us regularly as we lay out the future of chess as well as what seems like the past.